Once you have completed the case opening, it is now time to create your framework. Creating frameworks is the most daunting and confusing section of the case for most candidates. The reason most candidates struggle is because they do not know how to create their own frameworks. They rely on memorizing common frameworks which they try to copy and paste into a given case. Every interviewer at top consulting firms sees straight through this, with some instantly rejecting you as a candidate. Therefore, to avoid this issue, I am going to walk you through a step-by-step process which you can use to create a strong framework that is specific to any case. Some of you may be thinking, well, what actually is a framework? Essentially, a framework is a set of ideas that breaks down a complex, ambiguous problem into smaller components. Simply put, it is your plan to break down the problem and generate a solution for the client. What most people don't understand is that frameworks are a tool that can be used at any stage during a case. Primarily, they are used at the beginning of a case. However, they can also be used to structure your thoughts and workings in the analysis, brainstorming, and recommendation sections. So, whenever you feel necessary, we recommend you use a framework to structure your ideas. Generally, there are two types of frameworks that you can use. One is a driver tree, as shown on the left, and the other is a conceptual framework, as shown on the right. The driver tree is a simple diagram that breaks down one large idea into smaller, bite-sized sections. From the top down, it breaks the problem down, but reading from the bottom up, it is a path from issue to solution. This type of framework is effective for concepts such as profitability, where there are clearly defined ideas and links between them. A conceptual framework is a much simpler and straightforward structure. It breaks down a large problem into key areas, also known as buckets, which can then be broken down further and investigated. To begin with, we recommend you use a conceptual framework for most structures you create, as they are the most simple and easiest to follow. Now you understand what a framework is, it is time to learn how to build one. To build a framework for any case, you should follow a 3-step process. These 3 steps are defining the foundations, defining the buckets, and finally expanding the buckets. The first step is to define the foundations. These foundations are simply 1. The objective. 2. The scope of the problem. 3. Understanding other key factors affecting the client. Without first understanding these 3 areas, the framework you create will be inefficient and ineffective. Once you are confident you understand the foundations of the case, you must then decide which buckets or drivers you will focus on. In other words, you need to determine what key areas you will investigate to achieve the objective of the case. This objective will be to either determine a root cause of an issue or to generate a solution for the client. The buckets you choose must directly link to you achieving the objective of the case. Some example buckets that are commonly investigated in case interviews are 1. The company. 2. The competitive landscape. 3. The market the company is working within. 4. The customer base. 5. Opportunity costs. 6. Entry or exit strategies. 7. Profitability. 8. The product or service the company sells. 9. Risks. The last bucket is to make your own bucket. When designing your framework, if there is a specific area you want to investigate, you should define it and use it strongly within your case. The final step in creating a framework is to exhaust the buckets you have chosen. This means you must decide which granular aspects of the bucket you think are relevant and want to investigate. When determining what these specific areas are, you should consider some key factors. 1. Understand how this aspect leads to your objective. 2. Understand how critical this aspect is to achieve your objective. 3. Understand if this area is proven to be what you believe it might be. Where does this lead you? 4. Understand that if this area unearths information you weren't expecting, you must be adaptive and flexible within your framework to pivot to another area. You are now equipped with all the information you need to generate unique frameworks for any type of case you encounter. This system has been tried and tested many times, and if used correctly, will not fail you. A good framework that you create will 1. Be specific by only focusing on the areas that are relevant to achieving the objective. 2. Be mutually exclusive by ensuring there is no overlap between buckets. 3. Be collectively exhaustive by ensuring all relevant areas within each bucket are considered. 4. Show a logical approach to solving. Now that you understand how to build a framework, let's build one together. To build a sample framework, we will use the example case shown earlier in the program. If you cannot remember the example, pause the video now to read the case prompt again. Step 1 is to define the foundations of the case. This means we must understand the objective, the scope, and any other key factors influencing the case. In this example, the objective is to increase revenue in the short term. The scope is to implement the change in 100 stores across the US. And other key factors to understand is that there is already high demand from customers. Step 2 is to define the buckets you will use to reach the objective of the case. To achieve our objective, I have broken the framework down into 4 key buckets. 3 are financial, and 1 is a non-financial. Given the objective is to increase revenue, all buckets are directly linked to revenue. The first area I want to investigate is how we can increase volume. Then I want to understand if we can increase the price of any of our products, before finally looking at our marketing strategies. From a non-financial standpoint, I want to understand more about our customers and their needs and wants. The final step is to exhaust the buckets. 1. Can we increase volume? To increase volume, I want to look at the possibility of introducing new products, gaining new customers, increasing the number of repeat customers we have, and finally, looking at ways to increase the average revenue per purchase. 2. Can we increase prices? The next area I want to look at is how we can manipulate prices to boost revenues. To do so, I want to understand our current pricing strategy, what our competitors' pricing strategies are, and then what the price elasticity of demand our customers have been. 3. Can we increase our marketing reach? To increase our marketing reach, I want to investigate our marketing strategy and suggest possible ways to improve it. Specifically, I want to understand our product, our pricing, our promotion strategies, and finally, the placement of our products. 4. What do our customers want? To increase revenues, I want to understand more about our customer base and how we can increase the value we can provide them. To do so, I want to know what our customer demographic is and if we have any specific feedback from them in terms of the product or services we provide. It is important to know how to create a framework. However, it is equally important to know how to communicate your framework to the interviewer. You can have the best framework in the world, but without knowing how to effectively communicate your ideas, the interviewer will not fully understand how you have broken down the problem. When communicating your ideas, assume the interviewer cannot see your framework. Therefore, you need to explain the framework in such a way they can understand your ideas and direction. The first step is to define the objective. The second step is to provide an overview of your framework. The third step is to explain each bucket in detail. The final step is to progress the case. The best way to explain this is through an example. Step 1. State the objective. This framework has been designed to determine how we can increase revenue in the short term in all 100 plus stores. Step 2. To break down this problem, I have decided to investigate 4 key areas of the business: volume, price, marketing, and our customers. Step 3 is to explain your buckets. I explained these buckets in our example earlier. Step 4. Progress the case. For this problem, I believe the most important information will come from our customers, so this is the area I would like to investigate first. Now you understand how to build and communicate your frameworks in a case interview. I will show you some common examples of frameworks that you can study. It is important that you do not memorize these frameworks to use in case interviews. If you do, your framework will be basic and non-specific. The first basic framework is the 3 C's framework. The 3 C's framework looks to break down a business problem by looking at 3 key areas: customers, company, and competition. Pause the video now to read through this framework. The second basic framework is the 4Ps framework. This framework is generally used to solve any business problems that are directly related to marketing. Therefore, if you are given a marketing-themed question, this is a framework that you could use. Pause the video now to read through this framework. I am now going to show you the most common standard frameworks that are used in case interviews. I'm showing you for educational purposes. However, please keep in mind that all these frameworks should not be copy and pasted into case interviews you are trying to solve. Do not try to memorize them. Doing this will cause you to become unstuck and ruin your chances of successfully passing a case interview. Pause the video on framework to read through and study how these frameworks have been created. Further, you should read them aloud to practice your communication of frameworks whilst boosting your learning. Number 1 is entering a new market. Number 2 is mergers and acquisitions. Number 3 is pricing strategies. Number 4 is growth strategies. Number 5 is increasing revenue. Number 6 is cutting costs. Number 7 is profitability. This is a continuation of the profitability framework.